Now, up until this point, I've done reviews on games that were essentially hidden gems. We always knew that they were great titles, they just didn't get enough love upon release. The topic of today's video, however, has absolutely garnered a lot of hatred. I'm talking about Castlevania 2: Simon's Quest. But I'm here to set the record straight and tell you that in your haste to join the angry bandwagon, you're missing out on one of the most satisfying adventures on the NES. Let's start with the day-night cycle. You'll notice upon starting the game that Castlevania 2 is a non-linear adventure. There's paths to beat, monsters to kill, towns to visit, and people to talk to. But once every few minutes, a notification will pop up informing the player that the time of day is about to change. The screen then fades to black as the change takes place. A lot of people seem to have a problem with this, but I don't get it. Why is this such an issue? Is it because of the frequency of the notifications? You get a solid few minutes before it happens. Perhaps it's the amount of time it takes for the transition to take place. Seconds. It only takes seconds. Another issue I hear a lot about is the townspeople. Apparently they just spout nonsense when you speak to them, but as I went along the game, I realized that this wasn't entirely true. Now, there's definitely a few head scratchers involved, but for the most part, the dialogue isn't any more egregious than other games from this time. I have a conspiracy. I think they purposefully made these games this way so that they could sell you strategy guides as well as extra subscriptions to Nintendo Power. A combination of consumer interaction as well as getting extra cash from double dipping. A tactic that Nintendo still practices to this day. Which brings me to my next point, the seemingly obtuse puzzles. My prime example is crouching next to the canyon wall with the red crystal equipped and waiting for the tornado to appear. Well, am I the only one that bothered to get the hint book that told me that? Those tips about Dracula's riddle aren't just random quips, you know. Come to think of it, even a townsperson told me about it. Not the most helpful tip, I know, but it at least told me that something was going on there and that I needed to do some investigating. The only one I really can't defend is kneeling next to the body of water with the blue crystal and wait a minute, how the hell does that work? As far as I can tell, only one of the hint books gave inaccurate information. It's otherwise a pretty helpful system. That, in conjunction with the decent guide, and you're in good hands. I have played this game to completion, and I can honestly say I had a very fun time and felt completely satisfied doing it. And if you do harp on this game for its necessity of a guide, then you cannot in the same breath say that you enjoyed titles like The Legend of Zelda, Clash at Demon Head, or Faxanadu. You would be hypocritical for doing so. So you're probably wondering, are there any legitimate issues with Simon's Quest? And there are a couple. The biggest one is the spelling errors. Apparently you don't collect Dracula's body parts, you possess them. And symbols of evil do not appear when you strike the stake, they appear. Then there's the bosses. Though they were still a lot of fun to take down, they were very easy. Too easy. Everyone knows about the fight with Dracula, but there's also the fight with Carmilla. I took her out before she could even attack me, and you don't even have to face the Grim Reaper. Again, these are only minor gripes. Please do not let them keep you from experiencing this awesome game. I don't care what anyone says, it wasn't poorly executed. One last thing to talk about is the jumping. It's admittedly not the best, but once again, it's not any worse than the other games in the series. Once I understood how the momentum worked, I had very little problems. I especially laughed when I got to the floating platforms. Everyone always seems to bitch about these. Again, am I the only one that noticed that these are momentum-based puzzles? Those things aren't moving up and down for no reason, and the spacing isn't random. Look, here's how you do it. But I'm going to stop my review here, because I think I've pissed enough people off for one day. I can't explain it. This is a perfect example of a game that has gone on to become a criminally underrated masterpiece simply because of mob mentality. I think it's a fantastic game, and I cannot recommend it enough. But on that note, it's time to end the video. I want to wish everyone a safe and happy All Hallows Eve, and remember, keep it extreme. Cheers.